right, so I arrived at Lost Mountain Outfitters. We got situated, and sure enough, we are hitting spots trying to roost a bird. Driving in, we spotted a gobbler in the field. Jake was showing me how to crow call. I tried it, got no response. He nailed it, and sure enough, shot gobble. So we got the alcohol and everything. I'm pointing to where it's coming from, and boom, there he is. So we know he's up in that area, and he will be in the area tomorrow for the hunt. So we're gonna take the four-wheeler up that hill and go after him. It got me very excited. Well, right out of the gate, about 10 minutes after sunrise, we had five Jakes come in, and we got one heck of a show. Due to technical difficulties, the audio was lost on this. Down in the valley to our right, in a field, we had the gobbler we had roosted the night before just hammering. Um, I cannot tell you how tempting it was to take one of these. It really tested my resolve. I wanted to be like, okay, patience will hold out. Let's wait to see what that gobbler is going to do. Is he going to come up here and hang out? So we're surrounded by woods. And then in this one flat, there's grass. And then it holds water is something that I noticed. It was always loose dirt or squishy, muddy, whatever you want to call it. We've had lots of rain. Kentucky opener. It was very cold. I was not dressed for it. I was freezing. So it would have been really easy to take one of these and go home. My plans for the weekend were I could hunt opening day, but then I would have to drive home, cook, smoke some hams for Easter overnight, and then have Easter with my family, and then drive back Easter night, get a few hours of sleep and go back out Monday morning. So, to really take one of these birds, throw it in the truck, head home, be home early, rock and roll, you know, it was extremely tempting on so many levels. I'm 43 years old. I've never shot a spring gobbler or a turkey for that matter, ever. What this experience right here has given me, though, is letting me watch their movements up close. Um, they came into about 10 yards. I think right here they're probably about 15 or 20 yards. That tree to the right is 40. So they are extremely close. We are in a blind. Um, and I have the bead. I'm following that one that has a thicker, a little bit longer beard. Um, the one that has the very very colorful head was the one I was focused on because when they came in straight away, I couldn't see their beards, and I didn't see anything hanging, so I didn't know if they were going to be jakes like this, or if I just couldn't see them. I've never seen a bird this up close and personal. We do have a tom decoy out. It's the B Mobile, and then we have a lying hen. This guy is getting funky though. We have the hardest working turkey in show business going at it. I've never seen this on video before, but it was a really cool scenario how it laid out or scene, because we got to watch these guys for like 20 minutes. Unfortunately, after these guys leave, the gobbler was shot, was rolled, and then ran away. And a couple days later, we actually had that gobbler gobble down the trail into the woods about 50 yards, and we broke out of the blind and kind of went after him. I think I have some video of that. To be honest, I'm not really focused on shooting a bunch of video. I'm really learning how these animals move, where the shot placement's going to be. The one on the right would be taken by himself, head up, stagnant. in his movement, and then of course they go right back into movement. So they're definitely a small moving target. And to see this, you see it in video where they zoom way in, you think, oh, how did he miss? I mean, you know, shooting this with a regular camcorder, you can see you do not have much of a target at all. You probably have a 3-inch circle with a 1-inch, 1.5-inch cylinder, and it's constantly moving. Every time they poke their head up, that's that gobbler just hammering. But they're really not paying attention to him so much until we get more to the end of the video. And I'm going to keep this full because this is some great footage that we were able to capture of these birds and their movement and their activities. If you notice, they're looking down, but they're really not feeding. I don't know exactly what they're looking for. I'm not a turkey expert. We have a hen that comes in, and then we had a hen come in the evening, and she fed heavily. So I don't know. Usually these jakes show up at this spot in the evening. They have a trail camera up. Jake was my guide. Jake Combs, Lost Mountain Outfitters, did a great job. He had these birds pretty much on camera routinely, and he's like, look, conditions are really bad. We're not going to hear a ton of gobbles, or we're not going to see a lot of action, but I'm gonna go with consistency here. So let's go to the blind. So here they're finally actually puffing up and responding to that gobbler. We have a couple guys that are hunting below us, and then here's the hen coming in, and then she completely ignores them. They ignored our decoys. They stayed away from them. No fighting, no scratching, but also it was a longbeard, or the tom strutter. So I don't think they were going to pick a fight with him. I was hoping to get some of that and see some of it, but I really enjoyed this because it let me get used to the animals and seeing them and their movement and how they're going to react. The slow motion struts are pretty amazing. But it's funny how they just all flared up all of a sudden. I don't know if it's because the hen came in or what, but this gobbler is hammering like every 30 seconds. I don't know if that's overcalling or what they were doing. I don't know, but he was gobbling his head off, and it really had me excited. And with this far past sunrise, we didn't think the other individuals were hunting down below, so we had a chance for this gobbler to come up and give me a shot. Now, this isn't running and gunning. This isn't anything like that. We went to the blind because of conditions, and I also had to do this in 2019 when there was a drought and I was on my elk hunt. We just sat on a blind. Nothing was bugling. Everything was shut down. So this was the exact opposite. Everything was cold and everything was wet. There really wasn't a lot of sunlight. There was a little bit that we got here for, I don't know, the first part of the day, and then it became windy and cloudy, and another rainstorm came in. Friday night, rainstorm, temperatures dropped. Normally these jakes show up in the evening. Normally they don't show up in the morning. So, because of the conditions change, it's changed a routine, I guess, just like deer. That cold front comes in, they're wet, the sun is going to be out, so they're in the field. They want to get dry. I can only imagine with the shield that those feathers provide, if they're soaking wet, what that's got to feel like. I've been in drenched clothing, especially in the military, and it's just uncomfortable. So yeah, here they're all grouped up, and like I said, they're paying no attention to the hen. They're staying in their little cluster. They stay real tight to each other. We got one at like quarter strut, one at 8 strut, one at half strut, one at 3/4 strut, and then one at like 7/8 strut. That might even be a full strut, but it's just funny how slow they're doing it. I've never seen this before. In all the hunting videos, they just puff up and boom, there they are. This is really neat that they actually hold. Like these guys got mohawks going on. Like just never seen it. Pretty weird. And a couple of them are getting freaky. That kind of surprised me. I even asked the guy. The commentary between me and Jake was really hilarious. I was really hoping we'd have the audio for this. And yeah, you can see the hen come in. She's feeding. Now the Jakes, it seems like they've actually found some food and they're feeding. Um, but they hit this field almost every day. So next year, that's going to be 5 gobblers that, if they keep the same routine, they're going to be hitting this field. Yeah, and to even walk around like that and feed, but be at strut or half strut or quarter strut, I mean, it's just nuts. I wish I did have a better camera. It's probably something I'm going to work towards for next year. But this was a really cool intro to hunting or turkey hunting and being able to see their movements, their behaviors, stuff like that. How much they move their head, and then when that head's up, it is going to be stationary. So now I understand the small yelp or whatever that gets them to stick their head up and pause, because that's about the only 2 seconds they're not moving. I mean, they are, I think they move more than a deer does. Especially feeding. I mean, that head's just up and down, up and down. Now you can see the hen. Yeah, even there. I mean, that is just sporadic. And trying to take a shot at that. So I understand it's just like doing the meh or the whistle or whatever you do to stop a deer. You got to do that cluck or a soft yelp to get them to pop that head up and be stationary. So just very interesting. And then here you can really see the shine that the feathers have. It's almost like a plastic look, or something's been armor rolled or something. And that's a trick I picked up this year on YouTube, was to armor all your decoys the day before you go out. So that's something I've been doing, and um, but I just had never been this close to turkeys. I've had them at 50 or 60 yards or even 200. I had a lease years ago where I did not take full advantage of it, and I probably should have. But it had a flock of about 40 turkeys, and if I can dig up the picture, I will put it in this video. But one day I was deer hunting, and a flock of 40 turkeys just came out of the tree right before sunset. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen, because I'd never seen them do it in the afternoon. I don't know if they were roosted or if they just flew in, but they came in the field about 200 yards away, and it just looked like a black blanket before us, and it was the most turkeys I'd ever seen in my life. And I kind of regret it now, after doing the different types of spring gobbler hunting, from blind to run and gun to setting up decoys. We um, I wish I wouldn't have gotten I wish I would have gotten into it then. It really really is addicting, and I really didn't even think about spring gobbler hunting until I went elk hunting. And calling an animal and having it respond to you, and it either it's going to be a mating call or it's going to be a fighting call. It's pretty interesting when that animal is 450 pounds and he is screaming at you. It's different. I'm not going to say deer hunting has lost its luster, but there's something to be said about animals that you can hunt that communicate with you. It's something more primal. It sparks something up inside you, and that's something I really enjoyed. And this year, I went on my first hog hunt. That was cool. It wasn't great. I did get to do a spot and stalk, and it ended up being a 300-pound boar. That was very interesting. But The rest of it was just shooting from a blind, and that's what this kind of felt like. Is they came in immediately. It was just too easy. They came in immediately. We didn't, we called a bit, but our calling did not bring these in. They were not vocal at all. And the interesting is the hen is just not even interested in none of them. Not the gobbler, not the Jakes around her. She is just not interested at all. And to me, that is extremely interesting, because when we watch videos, sometimes we see the hunt, we see the action, but you don't know what's around. So this is kind of cool where the hunt is happening 150 yards away, and then we're on a whole nother group of birds, and this is what they're doing while somebody's actively hunting. So it's kind of like a video of what you don't see. And to me, it's very interesting because you can have somebody just ripping it up, and then with this, you see it's still hunting, and to me that just kind of like blew my mind, and I just wanted to really enjoy the moment, yeah. See, another one's getting freaky. uh, yeah, I made a lot of inappropriate jokes about that. I was like, look at me, ma, look at me, yeah, top of the world. um, but yeah, it just, it was really cool, and I could have shot any one of these birds. Like I said, they were anywhere from 40 to 15 yards. It was just done. Before every season, I shoot a bunch. I make sure I'm comfortable with whatever I'm using. It's sighted in. It's accurate. Everything is ready to go. There's no question. Um, and just like shooting my bow, I try to shoot my bow year round, and stay proficient with it, because that is a diminishing skill. Um, I really, um, you know, really doing some good stuff. So, uh, yeah. So it was very interesting. Yeah, this is when they're all starting to puff up. They're all going to group together, except for the one that's having a little too much fun. He's kind of by himself. He's like, "Hey, come on, let's party," and the other dudes are like, "Hey, Jim's over here, dude. We're flexing." So, yeah, and the slow mo struts, the transitions. It was really cool to see how they strut, because really you just see them puff up all of a sudden, like they're ready to go. They see the decoy and boom, they turn the switch on. Here they're kind of like, hey, I don't know if that Tom's going to turn around and come and attack us, but let's go ahead and get our practice in anyway. We need to get our strut going. So, like I said, it was really interesting. Throughout this whole season, I've been really appreciative. The goal was, of course, to harvest a turkey, but I think what I enjoyed most about this particular trip and with Lost Mountain Outfitters is that they shared knowledge along the way. They gave me their judgments. They told me about conditions and how it wasn't normal, and wait till you're in the woods and like six of them just fire up all around you, and it's like, that's really awesome. And I'm like, okay, well, normally I help public land, so I don't think we have six toms on public land, but yeah, and I understand what they're saying, because we went through the same thing with the elk hunt. It was dead. It was 100 degrees. It hadn't rained in a month. The mud was cracked and dried on logging roads. There was no water, so any water we could find, that's where we need to hunt, and we didn't need a call because nothing was bugling. Then all of a sudden, the second morning, everything fired off, and it was nuts. And I probably shot the medium-sized elk. There was a bigger elk screaming at us. Had I passed him, who knows what would have happened. But it's almost like this. It's like, okay, it's a turkey. I have 5 in front of me. They show up pretty much every day. So worst comes to worst, I'm sitting in a blind. I'll get my turkey, go home. But really, I wanted to get in the woods. I wanted to call. I wanted wanted to hike. Now, I didn't realize exactly what this decision was going to do. And I wouldn't have changed a thing. This would have been a fast, easy hunt. I would have not gained any experience or any knowledge or any insight into turkey hunting. Jake and Hurley both went out of their way to communicate with me what they were going to do, what the game plan was, and based on their decades of experience chasing these gobblers in this area, um, how they perceived what was going to go down the next day. And for a lot of what they told me, their experience really paid off. Um, you know, we had to go up and down hills on four wheelers to get to spots. The inclines were muddy, slippery. It's not a fact of just physical endurance to be able to get up it. It's can you even get up this hill, um, on foot safely? And for a lot of this terrain, it was not. And, they had the equipment, they knew where everything was. So to allow them to take that piece of it and for me just to be able to observe was priceless, and this will be a hunt I'll never forget.